Greetings, everyone. As you may know, I'm that one person who made some Crash Fever videos a while ago. Yeah, I haven't done that in a while. Well, I know I haven't, but today I'm stripping out this whole tutorial series to actually make a sort of different kind of video. Video I've actually really wanted to do for a long time. Probably since around Atlas Fiction actually launched, but like a year ago. I was really lazy, per usual. But today, we'll be discussing which is better, Crash Fever or Atlas Fiction. Today's going to be sort of like a pros and cons sort of video, based off like each game. I'll give each game a sort of tally mark for what each category. So like I'm going to set categories and give a tally mark to each game, which I think wins like a sort of battle, I guess, not really, but like what does that sort of category better. And there's going to be quite a few categories. Also note that this is somewhat opinionated based off my experience with both games, so feel free to disagree. Also note, I'm not calling each of these games bad, I'm just rating them what game does what thing better. Hopefully let you, the viewer, choose which game to play based off your preferences. If theoretically you're in a life or death situation where you could only play one of these games for the rest of your life. But, with all that said, let's begin. Here are the list of categories I found to be major enough to be worth their own point. First off, you may have noticed there being 3 categories related to characters. I thought I'd elaborate on the differences. Characters is about how memorable and how well written the characters are. Character design is just their overall design and effort put into the looks of and art of the character. Character interaction is how much you get to interact with the characters and how little some characters are left out. Now, with all that out of the way, let's talk about characters. I like to say straight off the bat that Crash Fever wins this one. And you may be wondering, well, why? You can't just say that. Well, I will tell you why. I find the Crash Fever characters to be more memorable, just through them existing longer. Literally existence issue for Atlas Fiction. But it's the truth. I find the trio of Happy, Mobius, and Belial way more memorable than the trio of Neo, Musashi, and Anderson, or Andromeda. I don't know. There's like a million more major characters in this one. But anyways, and sure, if you haven't played both of these games, that'd be totally wrong for you. Well, here's another reason, which kinda also makes me want to give this 2 games a tie, but I cannot. Atlas Fiction may have more in-depth characters, but Crash Fever has way, and I mean way more different many characters. Most of the characters get screen time at least once to show off their personalities and their stories. So overall, I'd say Crash Fever has the edge since it's more expansive on the amount of characters to develop with and work with. And yes, Happy has the best lore, fight me. Next up is character design. Crash Fever has all these well-detailed giant splashes of colors and objects surrounding the character, while Atlas Fiction mainly shows just the character. And personally, I'd say Atlas Fiction is better. Sure, Crash Fever arts are sick, don't get me wrong, but Atlas Fiction pulls the plain and simple perfectly. You can actually look at the characters fully. Also bonus points for the semi-live 2D-ness of it. This is more an opinionated one I feel like, so if you love plain simple designs, Atlas Fiction is your go-to. But if you love chaos and colors, Crash Fever is it for you. Up next, character interaction. Yeah, Atlas Fiction wins this one no doubt. Atlas Fiction has a bond building system, and yeah, that knocks Crash Fever out of the park. You get to bond with, and sometimes get small one-on-one cutscenes with characters specifically talking to you. Even the regular cutscenes and dialogue, you feel like you're actually interacting with your characters. Crash Fever, well, I really can't say the same. The sometimes dialogue you get in your main menu when there's an event just seems so random and ugh. And regular cutscenes and story just feel automated, as if they were talking without you, so easy victory for Atlas Fiction. Now, the probably most important category, the gameplay. Both games' gameplay based around matching colors, and in this case, elements, to deal attacks. Each color counters and gets countered by another. Crash Fever makes you chain colors from a cluster of randomly put tiles, while Atlas Fiction makes you mash them from a bar, sort of, and more panels will flow when you break them. Well, first, Crash Fever does seem more strategic. Later on, when you get better characters, they automatically convert your board into one color, so all you end up doing is clicking the screen like 3 times, and that's it. Crash Fever still requires you to be strategic, as you constantly have to make the right moves in a fast pace. It sure has abilities to turn your whole bar of panels into one color, but it activates once, with like a used ability. Well, Crash Fever, some units make it like that the entire game. I'm giving the gameplay point to Alice Fiction. Now, here comes story. Story is a hard one to decide, as it shares the same fate of my second point for characters. Alice Fiction's story is way more in-depth than single story, while Crash Fever has many different arcs and a long main story, I guess? Anyways, it shares the same issue. One super good thing, or several pretty good things. And for me, again, I'll take the more stories and arcs from Crash Fever. As stated earlier, this gives Crash Fever freedom to be more expansive, include new and old characters more frequently. Alice Fiction focuses on set characters, the main story, and only features others more often in event stories. Speaking of events, that's our next category. Man, I wonder which game may have to download new content for every 2 days because there's some new event around the corner. Oh yeah, I know. Crash Fever. Yeah, I know our feelings, Alice Fiction. Crash Fever's inflow of events and new content just won't stop. Meanwhile, Alice Fiction gets only one every so often. Next up is free-to-play friendliness. I actually had to do a bit of snooping around to see what other people had to say, since in my experience, both games are super free-to-play friendly for being a free mobile gacha game. In my experience, haven't come across a paywall at all. However, with my magical powers called reading old Reddit posts, I've got an conclusion that Crash Fever is less free-to-play friendly, leaving Alice Fiction to be the winner of this category. This is because Crash Fever involves more management of your resources, so it's harder to get every character if you were a collector. Alice Fiction lets you slowly but surely gain anima from past collabs. Well, Crash Fever, you could kiss some old manners goodbye if you couldn't afford them then and there. Characters do get reruns and events in Crash Fever, but they're expensive and very inconsistently occurring. Next is the grind. I know more of a grind is a bad thing, but hey, maybe people want more things to work for. So in this case, the more grind, the better. And here we have another problem. The grinds come into play in different ways. Crash Fever's major grind is the materials to upgrade units. Also, if you're some crazy completionist, you're playing events over and over and over again to get an event unit to bug max. Mind you, new events feel like they come every week, and there's multiple events at once. And they all come with multiple challenges. Alice Fiction's grind comes in the form of getting anima. There are many ways to obtain it other than the obvious redrawing dupe characters, such as Underground or Teams. But you get a solid 1 of 5 anima for these actions, and yeah, you need a lot to promote your characters. However, I'd give the bigger grind award to Crash Fever. Mainly since Alice Fiction has multiple ways to get these anima, it cuts some time off. Eventually, if you're good enough, you can AFK it. And finally, game balance. Well, this is going to be a lame point. Yeah, Crash Fever, power creep bad, Alice Fiction, more balance good. Not much else to say. Crash Fever just releases too many characters, so the power creep gets going. Alice Fiction, I've noticed, not every unit is unfair. Yeah, I totally know what I'm doing, but yeah, let's just say that Alice Fiction's more balanced. And there you have it. The final score. It seems that Alice Fiction won by 1 point. Of course, I'm not calling Crash Fever a bad game. I'm just, again, pointing out which game does what better so that you, the viewer, can decide on what game you'd like to spend some time on. And these are just opinionated suggestions. You are free to disagree with that. After the main points, I have some other extra points I'd like to rate the game of, but they're too small to count as a whole point, so consider this just like bonus points that won't affect the final score, just a little few nitpicks. Yeah, let's rush on through this. Alice Fiction wins in voice acting. All units are voice acted with a crap ton of lines. Meanwhile, I'm still waiting for my best boy Gilgamesh's voice lines. Crash Fever wins an update since I will not play for 2 days and feel like I missed out an entire year. Music is a hard one, definitely opinionated, but I prefer Crash Fever's soundtrack. Yeah, this is 100% personal. And finally, Crash Fever has way more collabs, and they also seem to be more expansive with more content in each collab. Okay, now everything is off my chest. I'm glad I finally got to make this video. And some reminders before you go is that I have a team in Alice Fiction. Feel free to join. Your help will be greatly appreciated. The code will be showed on the screen, and it will also be in the description. Also check on my Discord in the description as well. Sub, like, hit the bell, or whatever all YouTubers say. I don't know. And most importantly, have a wonderful day, you darn beautiful Alice member.